Okay, this is part 2 of my building a knife from start to finish. Um, these are the steel springs that you saw me anneal in the forge in the first video. As you can see, they're nice. They're fairly flat. They're not perfectly flat, but they're fairly flat. I'll put them on the anvil, make sure they're perfectly flat, and I'll hammer them cold. Now they've been annealed, they're not as springy as they were. So you can hammer them, you can cut them, you can do all kinds of things. I got one right here that I've marked with a white pencil that I'm gonna hacksaw, and I'll show you how soft the metal is now that it's been annealed or softened in the forge. My handy hacksaw. As you can see, and you can hear by the sound, this metal is soft. I mean, it's the hacksaw's cutting right through it. If this was before it had been softened, I'd hardly be making a dent in this thing with the hacksaw, but as it is now, it's cutting kind of like a piece of brass. I'm more than halfway through it. I'm through to the hole. Take a rest for a second. Okay, there's a perfect presentation of what was extremely hard, springy metal. Once you heat it up, so it's non-magnetic, and then cool it slowly, it becomes soft. So now there's two knife blades. Each one of these can be a beautiful knife blade. They're nice and thick. I'd say it's about 3/8. I'll make a beautiful, beautiful knife, and it's wide enough that you can have lots of patterns, different shapes. These here are the perfect length. Okay, I'm gonna cut this one in half, and then I'm gonna start planning what the shape of the blade's gonna be and start grinding it down, and I'll see you then. Alright, these are two of the blade designs I've settled on for two of the pieces of steel. This one's an extreme hawkbill. It's going to have it's going to have steel bolsters and guard. It's going to be made from the same material. I'm going to do cut-offs off one of the other blades, the short blades, and use those for the bolsters. So it's going to be all steel, and wood inlays. And I'm going to use small pins for everything. And I'm going to drill a ferrule hole through the stainless and not use a tube. So there's going to be no brass on these two, which will be a first for me. And I'm going to do this one first, I believe. So this is the one you're going to get to see me do. So this is the one we're going to be doing, and I'm going to cut away, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to be grinding the shape of that knife and cutting it with a hacksaw. Alright. Okay. What I've done since I talked to you last was I have the blade drawn on the piece of steel, which is 5/16 thick, pretty thick. Gonna make a real hefty knife. 5160 spring steel. What I'm doing is I used a hacksaw, and I hacksawed part of it off, a portion equal to this, and now I'm using the grinder and I'm slowly grinding the shape of the knife, and then I'll start grinding the blade. So this is going to be loud, but I'll show you, I'll let you see me grinding it for a minute. Okay, what I'll do is I'll continue to grind this down, and when I get the shape of the blade the way I've got it drawn with a white pencil, then I'll come back and we'll go from there. Alright? Alright. I've got my knife blank pretty much shaped, as you can see. Like I said earlier, it's 5/16 in thickness. It's a trailer leaf spring. Softened it in the forge. And I'm about where I'm going to make my serious planning with it. I got the shape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to V-grind it on the belt sander using a 40 grit or a 50 grit. It's either a 40 or 50. And this is approximately the layout of the knife. I'm going to grind the blade here. This will be a steel bolt guard, steel bolster. Steel, steel, steel. And I'm going to use a some type of solid handle. I'm not exactly sure yet. I think it's going to be white corian with small stainless pins. Stainless pin, stainless pin. It'll pretty much blend in with the steel, and it'll accent the corian. I'm not going to use a mosaic pin, and I'm going to use red spacers. Red spacer material. underneath the corian. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna grind this part of the knife. You can see the fit. And I'm gonna do file work from here all the way around to here. From here to here. I'm going to do file work on the blade. I was going to thin the blade out toward the rear, and I thought about it, but I think with the file work will look better if the blade's solid all the way through. And this blade is just so big that if I have any chance of getting a balanced blade, as you can see here, even with the steel on each side here, I'm gonna need a little bit of weight on this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and start grinding this in just a few minutes, and you'll be able to watch me. Okay, here we are at the grinder. These are some magnets I got set up here to catch the filings. Looks like these are kind of full. I'll just slide these down out of the way. Okay. I put some tape, some of the blue masking tape, on the blade. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand grind. I'm not going to use any kind of appliance or anything like that. I'm going to hand grind this blade. I'm going to start right here. Go this way. So let me get ready. Okay, I got my safety equipment on, got my gloves, got my earphones, and let's get started.
little under the weather, so I'm a little behind on this. But what I've done since the last video is I've sanded the blade, got it ground the way I like it, got a V ground. I ground the back, as you can see here, the last 2 inches or so, inch and a half, on the grinder, on the belt sander. I notched the bottom of the blade in a 3-way notch because I like it. I think it looks good. I sanded it by hand. I fixed the blade, which I'll show you here, into the vise. Use my 150 grit 3M sandpaper on my sanding block, and sanded all the scratches out. Which right now it's pretty close to being scratch free to the 150 grit. What I have to do is use a finer grit sandpaper to get it a little better. Now another thing I had to do, since this was forged, this was a leaf spring, I found that it wasn't perfectly flat, and what I had to do is put it on the sanding belt using, that is what I'll do now, but I was using 50 grit sandpaper, and I sanded the entire knife flat. I removed material wherever it was high, leaving just the low areas. I already had 5/16 of an inch thick blade, so there was quite a thickness there, and I ended up losing some material here. This ended up being a low spot, which is, as you can see, if I can get down to where I'm sanding along the edge of the blade, then it's flat, and this is just a low spot that'll be hidden. Over here it's pretty flat. I just have some pits along here and here, which were from maybe casting or when I forged it, the metal. So this will be real flat when the handle's covering it up. And this here I'm a little worried about along here. It's might be a little flat. As you can see, there's a tiny little, not even the width of a human hair, gap right there. So I'll have to keep that in mind when I choose a handle material, which I haven't really chosen yet. The blade is the way I like it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand the edge, and I'm going to start doing some file work, and that's the next thing you're going to see. I'm going to plan out what my file work's going to be, and I'm going to file this whole thing from here. Since this is going to be a false blade, I'm going to leave that flat area here, all the way around here to here. It's all going to be file work. Whoop, whoop. So when I come back, that's what we're going to see next. On the next video, that's what it's going to be, and we'll go from there with this, what's turned out to be a beautiful knife. Alright, I'll see you on the next video.